One of the accepted definitions of the word myth is a widely held but false belief or idea. Myths exist to help explain the unexplained. People have created stories or legends to help solve mysteries they once couldn't. Or in some cases, a myth is pure speculation from a time before science and research could prove differently. One that has managed to still be part of common conversation. Either way, people still insist some myths are true, no matter how much evidence is present to the contrary. Usually, if you just stop to think about it, really think about it, you can figure out if a myth is fact. To get you started, here are everyday myths people still believe are true. The Great Space Wall. Covering more than 13,000 miles in length, you would think that the Great Wall of China would be one of the first things an alien invasion would see as they approach the Earth. However, unless they get really close and have perfect weather conditions, they won't see it until they're close enough to blow it up. The Great Wall remains one of the largest man-made objects ever, but you cannot see it from space, even with sophisticated cameras. Making this myth even more interesting, the first people to publicly say that the wall could be seen from space were journalists in the 18th century. Since humans didn't go into space for another several hundred years, people simply assumed since the wall was gigantic, it must be visible from the moon, which is funny because you can't even see any of the 7 continents from the moon's surface. Not blind as a bat. When you're in the dark, smacking your hand against a wall to find a light switch that's playing peekaboo, a common expression is that you're as blind as a bat. Though by thinking that, you're actually stating that you can see 4 times better than the average human. It has been proven that bats have amazing vision, capable of seeing extremely long distances. Bats also use a form of radar called echolocation to help them locate smaller prey that they may have missed due to the extreme speeds they fly at. Where bats do suffer vision issues is flying during the daytime. The harsh light makes it difficult for them to see, so the majority of their hunting takes place during the evening hours. Basically, bats just need some good sunglasses and they'll be hunting all day long and look cool doing it. Horny Vikings. If you've ever dressed up as a Viking for Halloween, you probably wore a helmet with horns on it. In fact, almost every visual depiction of Vikings in modern culture has the Vikings wearing a helmet with horns, antlers, or even wings. The truth is, however, not as fashionable. Most Vikings wore a simple metal helmet, with some having a faceplate that protected them during battle. Thus far, not one single horned helmet has been found from the Viking era by archaeologists. This myth can be traced back to the 1800s when Swedish artist Gustav Malmström painted several pictures portraying Vikings with horns on their helmets. This doesn't mean that no one ever rocked a horny helmet though. Greeks and Romans have been depicted with antlers and horns on their heads, over a century before any Viking plundered and pillaged. 5-second rule. We've all done it, dropped a delicious treat on the floor, and in less than 5 seconds, plop that snack right back in our mouth. You may want to think for at least 6 seconds before doing that again. Researchers have concluded that no matter how long food sits on the floor, bacteria will begin adhering almost immediately. You can sweep, Swiffer, or mop that floor, but it will always be contaminated. Carpets transfer very little, while stainless steel transfers the yuck quickly. The food you're eating also affects the process. Gummy and sticky foods surprisingly do not attract bacteria, while moisture-filled fruits and vegetables like watermelon will draw the highest rate of contamination. So, the next time you drop that slice of pizza, just leave it, or pick it up and take extra vitamin C immediately. Forgetful fish. While a goldfish may not remember every word to War and Peace, it's been proven that they have much longer memory than the 3-second myth that exists. One popularized by Dory, played by Ellen DeGeneres in Finding Nemo and its sequel. In reality, scientists have shown that goldfish can be trained to remember the best path through a maze, respond to light and sound cues, and where their food is for up to 5 months. The origin of this myth is difficult to find, perhaps starting as an assumption or out of guilt. Since we observe fish in tanks, people may have convinced themselves fish must not be able to remember their small surroundings. Given what we've learned, you should at least give your fish one of those bubbling treasure chests. They won't forget what you did for them. Killer coins. Anyone who lives in a large city surrounded by skyscrapers has looked up and wondered if someone is dropping a penny as they're walking underneath, fearful of a coin embedding itself in their skull and killing them. Thankfully, if this is your fear, we're happy to say this myth is not true. Almost any coin dropped from the top would only sting, barely breaking the skin. The penny simply doesn't weigh enough. so it reaches terminal velocity quickly, causing its journey to the ground to remain at a constant speed. In order for something to do serious damage, it requires more weight. Something you should be on the lookout for: ballpoint pens. Depending on the design, the pen could turn and its length would form a lethal arrow, careening down upon you at 200 miles an hour. Heads up! Mama bird. Have you ever come across a just-birthed baby bird on the ground while doing yard work and wish you could pick it up and put it back? Yet you don't want to because you're afraid that the bird would be rejected? Fear not. Go ahead and help the little one out because birds don't smell well. And the myth that they sense humans on their offspring and turn them away is not true. Now, this doesn't mean you should start reaching into birds' nests and start chucking baby birds into the air. If the bird has feathers, just leave it alone, as chances are mom and dad are just out of sight, teaching it how to fly. However, if the bird is fuzzy, it might need a helping hand to get home. Go ahead and gently pick it up and place it back into the nest. Salons for the dead. If you've ever considered placing a hairbrush or nail brush in your coffin to help you maintain your growing hair and nails after death, well, we've got some bad news for you. They do not grow once you die. This myth isn't not true because your body requires nutrients to complete the metabolic process required for hair and nail growth. The reason people think it happens is because of the body's natural process during death. This isn't for the squeamish. So if you're eating lunch, you might want to swallow that bite. But as you die, moisture begins to leave your body. As your body dehydrates, the skin reacts, showing more of the roots of your hair and nails. So while it may appear longer, you're just seeing more of the hair and nails you already had. Good grooming is not needed in the grave. Rice, rice, baby. For centuries, dating back to ancient Egypt, people have thrown rice at weddings to wish newlyweds a prosperous marriage. The myth that you should not do this traces back to the 1980s when Ann Landers published a column asking people not to throw rice for fear that it would swell in birds' stomachs and cause them to explode. In order for rice to begin expanding, it would need a serious amount of heat, and that simply does not happen inside our avian friends. Birds eat rice throughout the winter to keep their bodies full before the spring, without exploding. The only thing that rice is bad for is churches and reception centers, as it's kind of a pain in the ass to clean up. This myth got so popular, it has essentially killed the tradition, with people preferring to blow bubbles or toss other types of grains upon the freshly married couple. Some myths are fun, existing to help fill in the cracks left behind by past societies. Some are created due to lack of knowledge, while others occur because no one stopped to ask if they could possibly be true. Common sense is still your best bet to determine if something isn't accurate. Between that and the internet, you should always fact-check your friend's advice before embarking upon a myth that was busted a long time ago. Did we miss any myths you think are true? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video and want to see more, subscribe to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Be sure to leave us a comment telling us what myths you busted.